Good afternoon. It's the 28th of October 2022. Welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1 for the News First team, where the people come first. I'm Sanitha Senanayaka. Before we take a look at the stories that we've got for you this afternoon in detail, let's take a look at the headlines.
No wildlife guide, no entry. Nivyala rule for private vehicles. Ranjan goes to court to get his travel ban lifted. Government says it has fertilizer stocks for Maha season. Farmer says no fertilizer provided. Harsha reveals way to bring down inflation. Rain wins out as Afghanistan clash against Ireland is abandoned.
On to your top story this afternoon. The Yala National Park will not allow private vehicles to enter without a guide from the Wildlife Department present.
Private vehicles will no longer be allowed to enter the Yala National Park without a guide from the Department of Wildlife. Sri Lanka's Minister of Agriculture, Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation, Mahinda Amaravira, told Newsfirst that this decision is temporary and will be in effect until the investigation on the reckless joyriding incident inside the Yala National Park is completed. He said that the Department of Wildlife will report the matter to the Tissa Maharahama Court to institute necessary legal action. In addition, the Ministry of Agriculture, Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation is conducting its own investigation on the 6 tour guides and 1 forest ranger who were present at the time of the reckless joyriding incident inside the Yala National Park.
Former parliamentarian Ranjan Ramanayaka was turned away from the Bandaranaike International Airport by Immigration and Immigration Department officials on Thursday evening.
Airport Immigration and Immigration said the former politician was turned away based on a court order barring overseas travel. Ranjan Ramanayaka, speaking to Newsfirst, said that an overseas travel ban was imposed on him with regard to a case filed over the distribution of rice during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ramanayaka said the case was concluded and the overseas travel ban was lifted. However, the relevant agencies had not been informed on the matter. He said that action will be taken on Friday to resolve the matter, adding that he was to fly to the United States of America to attend an event. Ranjan Ramanayaka arrived at the Nugeguna Magistrates Court on Friday morning to inquire into why his travel ban is still not lifted.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board says there will be a 12-hour power cut for the areas of Colombo 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 and 8 from 10 p.m. on Friday. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board requests the general public living in these areas to save up water and prepare for the water cut. In more local news, Department of Agrarian Development requests the farmers who did not receive urea fertilizer during the Maha season to inform them immediately. The Commissioner General of the Department of Agrarian Development, AHML Abhiratna, stated the first phase of distribution of urea fertilizer has reached 90% completion.
Commissioner General of the Department of Agrarian Development, AHML Abhiratna, said stocks of fertilizer have already been distributed to areas where the cultivation for the Maha season has commenced. During the first phase, 35 kilograms of urea fertilizer is provided for a hectare. 12,500 metric tons of urea fertilizer imported with the assistance of the World Bank has also been allocated for this purpose. Meanwhile, another stock of 22,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer with the assistance from the World Bank is expected to arrive in the end of October. The Department of Agrarian Development said 127,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer is expected to be imported for the Maha season. The National Fertilizer Office added that another stock of 40,000 metric tons of fertilizer is expected to be imported to Sri Lanka. The National Fertilizer Office added the stock of fertilizer will be issued to the farmers at concessionary rates.
The National Agricultural Union held a press conference and expressed the following views regarding the issuance of fertilizer.
How old is this urea? This urea didn't arrive recently. They always say that a fertilizer ship will arrive in 10 days, a month, and so on. This fertilizer was brought down during the previous season and is now being distributed to these farmers, saying there's adequate fertilizer. But money is being collected through the Agricultural Service Center from farmers. How can you solve this crisis without bringing in fertilizers accordingly? If these authorities continue to cheat the farmers will have to organize themselves and exert pressure on this government. As of today, a kilo of paddy has been reduced to around 105 rupees. But for the customer, a kilo of rice is 200, 190 or 210 rupees per kilo. Both the producers and consumers of this country are being destroyed. This country is being put into a situation that's worse than even Sudan or Ethiopia.
Newsfirst goes global once again. Newsfirst joins the Asia Vision membership of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union. 28 countries, 30 news channels, 24 hours a day.
News First with the people.
Leader of the National People's Power, Anurakumara Dissanayake, spoke at an NPP conference in Dambulla on Thursday.
There's no such thing as an SLPP political movement. Their political movement depends on a leader with a vision. Chandrika and Mahinda, leaders with a vision. When Gotabaya came into the picture, some said even Mahinda can't play around with him. Now they have no visionary leaders, which is why they're trying to bring back Mahinda Rajapaksa. But he needs 3 people just to help him stand. Some people will recall what happened during the 1977 election. They took Herath Bandara onto the political stage to attract crowds. That is exactly what is happening now. In my opinion, if a political camp is without leadership, organization, and has been rejected by the people, it means it has been abolished. Until now, people thought the politicians had the power. In the past, the common man had to bow down before them. But today, they can't even attend weddings and funerals. In the past, the people were afraid of the rulers. But today, the rulers are afraid of the people. That is what the Aragalaya has proved.
Member of Parliament Dr. Harsha De Silva expressed the following views on the current economic crisis in Panadura on Thursday.
We are not people who should be here. We should not fall like this, nor be this poor. But they did this to us. We actually do not have a way out of this. We will have to suffer more. So at this point of time, we should say that we are ready to pay, but we are not ready to pay for theft. We should stop printing money to control the inflation, which is around 80 to 90%. We told this many times, even at Parliament, that inflation will rise if you keep printing money like this. But they did not listen to this. But now they can't control. Inflation is the biggest threat. This destroys everyone. It devalues currency. So to get out of this, the money printing needs to stop and rather obtain the money needed by the government from the market. I don't want this as an economics lesson. For this, interest rates should be increased.
Minister of Labour Manusha Nanayakara emphasized the importance of giving more provision to vocational education in the country.
Our education system will have to be changed starting from preschool. Vocational education needs to be expanded as a national requirement. By 2034, Japan needs 6.4 million foreign employees. Then what should we do? We should have plans for that. In a few days, we will be adding the Japanese language into the school syllabus. We should prepare our children in accordance with the world labour market. We have this responsibility as a country.
In more local news, the Financial and Commercial Crimes Bureau of Sri Lanka's Criminal Investigations Department has arrested 3 people for committing massive cryptocurrency fraud amounting to around 14 billion rupees. Police spokesperson and attorney SSP Nihal Talduwa told reporters on Thursday that the scam was committed by a Chinese couple together with a Sri Lankan identified as Lama Hevage Shamal Kirti Bandara.
Spot chain කියලා
Complaints were filed regarding a scheme called Spot Chain. One man and a Chinese national were arrested, and thereafter the Chinese man's girlfriend was also arrested. They had carried out a Ponzi investment scheme. They had held meetings across hotels in Sri Lanka and attracted people to their investment scam. This was launched in 2020. They portrayed that the investment will return a profit. However, the investors are not allowed to withdraw their return. Over 8,000 people have been conned.
Sri Lanka Railways says that employee shortages is the root cause for delays in train operations. A senior official told Newsfirst that due to the shortage, it takes more time to release trains for operations following inspections.
Sri Lanka Railways says that employee shortages had led to delays in operating passenger trains daily. A senior official told Newsfirst that the existing issues have been informed to the Finance Ministry and relevant other stakeholders. Sri Lanka Railways has requested the Finance Ministry to give the go-ahead to recruit a limited number of employees to ensure the smooth functioning of train services in the country. Sri Lanka Railways says there is a shortage of approximately 8,000 railway workers, and existing personnel have to work tirelessly to ensure operations of 400 train journeys function smoothly. Sri Lanka Railways also stated that purchase orders were made for new train tracks and other equipment necessary for the maintenance of the railway tracks, and the shipments are to be received in the coming months.
The Colombo Crimes Division arrested a former Lance Corporal of the Sri Lanka Army for links with organized crimes and drugs.
Sri Lanka police said it arrested a former Lance Corporal of the Sri Lanka Army for his connections with notorious underworld gangster, drug trafficker and wanted criminal Nadun Chintaka, alias Harakkata. Harakkata is currently in hiding in Dubai, and police said the former Lance Corporal of the Sri Lanka Army has managed his finances here in Sri Lanka. 6 grams of heroin was recovered from the suspect, and based on his statement, a firearm and a hand grenade were also recovered, hidden under the New Kalani Bridge in Sedavatta. Information has also come to light that the 31-year-old suspect forged a passport to travel to Dubai and return to the country in early October 2022. The suspect is due to be produced in court.
Friday marks the final day of the 24-day-long Gum at the Door-to-Door program that was launched to identify the issues of rural Sri Lankans. The Gum at the Door-to-Door program was conducted together with the researchers from the University of Peradeniya.
The 6th edition of the Gum at the Door-to-Door program took place this year with the objective of identifying the perennial issues that plagued rural Sri Lanka. Today, which is the last day of this edition, the Gum at the teams were deployed to the Colombo, Gampaha and Nuwara districts. The Gum at the team in the Nuwara district went in search of a group of people residing close to tea plantations in Nanuoya this morning. Owing to the high cost of living, these people have been severely affected. A worker can earn only around 1,000 rupees per day from his job, which is not sufficient to even buy the food necessary for a family. On top of that, they only get the opportunity to work for a few days per week. The Gum at the team in Colombo district visited the Angulana fishing village in Moratua today. They are also victims of the rising cost of living and are under severe pressure. These people say that owing to a high cost of fuel, they have to bear a high cost on fishing, but they are unable to get the same income in return. The Gum at the team deployed in the Gampaha district visited the Pitipana Mahavatta fishing village in Nigambu this morning. They are also facing severe inconveniences owing to high fuel prices.
News First with the people.
In some news from Brazil, Brazilians will vote on Sunday in the second and final round of presidential elections as the current president Jair Bolsonaro and former leftist leader Luiz Lula da Silva compete for a close and important presidential race.
Brazilian presidential candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's lead over President Jair Bolsonaro has widened slightly to 6 percentage points, less than a week ahead of a runoff vote. Brazilians will go back to the polls on the 30th of October after a first round of voting on the 2nd of October saw Lula beat Bolsonaro but fall short of what he needed to avoid a second round. Words were exchanged as Lula said during a news conference in Sao Paulo on Monday that if he were to win the tightly fought contest, he hoped Bolsonaro would have a moment of sanity to accept the results and call him.
The world's richest man, Elon Musk, has completed his $44 billion takeover of Twitter. Musk has said he plans to rethink Twitter's content moderation policies in service of a more maximalist approach to free speech. The billionaire has also said he disagrees with Twitter's practice of permanent bans for those who repeatedly violate its rules, raising the possibility that a number of previously banned controversial users could re-emerge on the platform.
A number of top executives, including the boss Parag Agrawal, have reportedly been fired. It brings to a close a saga that saw Twitter go to court to hold the billionaire to the terms of a takeover deal that he had tried to escape. The Tesla founder said Twitter was an asset that he had just sort of languished for a long time, but has incredible potential, although obviously myself and other investors are overpaying for Twitter right now. Amongst the changes Musk could make to Twitter is restoring the account of former President Donald Trump, who was banned from the platform following the 6th of January attacks on the Capitol in 2021. Musk has repeatedly made clear he would overhaul Twitter's content moderation policies and bolster what he calls free speech, potentially undoing years of efforts from the company to address misinformation and harassment and to create healthier conversations on the platform.
Finally, in your sports news, Melbourne's fickle weather has won out on Friday with the ICC Men's T20 World Cup clash between Afghanistan and Ireland officially abandoned without a ball being bowled.
Persistent showers fell across the MCG for much of the day as ground staff kept the covers on and the pitch under wraps ahead of Friday's double-header. Play was eventually called off just after 4:30 p.m. local time, with both Afghanistan and Ireland receiving 1 point apiece to stay in contention for a semi-final berth. Ireland move up to second spot on the Group 1 standings with 3 points through 3 games, while Afghanistan remains 6th with 2 Super 12 matches remaining. It is hoped the showers will clear in time for the big clash between arch-rivals Australia and England to proceed at the same ground from 7 p.m. local time.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For more details on these stories, you can log on to our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Senita Sena Naikar. Take care and stay safe.